everyone. I'm your instructor, John Pomeroy, and welcome to this lesson of how to draw a realistic neck. The neck supports the head, obviously, and it is located in between the two shoulders. Now, there has to be a great deal of mobility with the neck, so side to side, around. We'll try to explore all of that and how to interpret that into graphic symbols and drawing. We'll approach it from the neck muscles for a man and a neck muscles for the woman, because they're a little bit different. I mean, it's the same muscle groupings, but one will be a little more masculine, a little bit bulkier than, say, the woman's neck, which is a little more slender. So let's get started. So let's start out with the basic male head. I'm going to block it in for you. Now, we've covered the base on our lesson concerning head structure and proportions, so this should be a little familiar to you. And it's important that I just not draw the neck, but I also be able to show how it relates to the shoulders and the chest area as well, because everything has a harmony to it. Everything is structured almost like an architect's drawing. So you have the head supported by the muscles of the neck, which are also supported by the muscles of the shoulder and the chest. So going back to the head, let's divide that in half. This is the male head structure. There's our eye line right there. And then I'll give myself a medial line right down the center. And what we'll do is we'll build our eyes on top of that. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail with the head. I just want to kind of give ourselves some basic structure that we can work out of for our neck lesson. Eyebrows right there, eyes. And then remember that at the eye line, we divide the lower half of the block in 3 equal parts. And so that top third would be the nose placement. I'll just rough in a nose real quickly. There's our nose placement. And then the lower third would be the bottom lip. And remember, the iris coming down would be the corners of the mouth. So there's my mouth placement. And then from the cheekbone coming down, that's the rough chin placement, the jawline. And the ears start around just about at the eye line, or the top of the eye, and they come down. They're the same length as the nose. We got the brow, and then the cranial mass. The hairline would be right roughly there. The neck. So there's our male head roughed in. Now, there's a set of muscles on either side of the neck that are very prominent. They usually come down and end right here at the base of the neck. And these two muscles are called the sternocleidomastoid muscles. M-A-S-T-O-I-D. Sternocleidomastoid muscles are really important because they are able to help with the side-to-side action of the neck, the back and forth action, going back and forth, and then rotating around. So there's this great mobility that these two sets of muscles have. And once again, that this is the male neck, so this is going to be a bit thicker normally than a woman's neck. Right here, there is a structure of cartilage underneath the skin. A lot of times we refer that as the Adam's apple, but it's the thyroid cartilage and gland muscle right here. That moves slightly up and down as the person is swallowing. So those two muscles there, the sternocleidomastoid muscles, are very, very important for mobility. There's the shoulders, and right about there's the clavicle, the line of the chest. So that takes care of the front set of muscles. Let's draw the back side. And once again, this is the male neck that we're drawing. So we'll start with the block as our base for the head. The neck comes up. The eye line would be right there in the middle of that block. The ears would be attached just above the eye line, coming down to the end of the nose. Got the shoulders, deltoids. There's the back where the vertebrae is, the backbone. The neck comes up just under the eye line. There's the back side of the cranial mass. The back part of the skull. There's the median line. So we can see the forward part of the underside of the jaw. I'll just shade that in so you can make that out. And right there is where the neck meets the bottom part of the head. And coming up from that are the masses of muscles that support the neck. And they are the trapezius. They're kind of almost divided like two butterfly wings that on either side that help support the neck and give it its mobility. So between the trapezius muscles and the sternocleidomastoid muscles on the front, that gives us all of our mobility for the neck. The trapezius muscles come down almost down to the middle of the back where they meet the latissimus dorsi muscles. And we covered that earlier in our lesson about the muscles. So there are the trapezius muscles. And this goes down. Back here would be talking about the skeletal structure. This would be the scapula right there. So this would give us our mobility. And when you're drawing the head and neck in different positions, this information will become very important to you. Say if I were drawing, I'm going to block in the head. This is a head that's going to be tilted away from us. The neck will be connected right there at the base of the eye line. There's the eye line. Here's our head. The neck would be wrapping around to the front. Here would be the jawline. I'm going to shade that in so you can see the structure. Here's the shoulder right there. Here would be the chest area. And this neck is stretching up and over. There's the top part of the cranium. There's a median line that I'm going to use for the position of the ear. Here's the back side of the skull, or the block, just to give you an idea of where everything is placed. So right here, that midpoint on this side of the block is where the ear will be placed. So there's the eye line. The ear comes off the eye line, loops back, and comes back around the medial line. There would be the placement of the ear right there. If I follow the eye line around, we have the brow. We don't get to see the eye at this angle, but we do get to see the brow and maybe part of the eyebrow. Here's the cheekbone. There is the lower part of the jaw right there. There's the chin. And here is the nose. There's the underside of the nostril. That would be the underside of the nose. Once again, nose and ear about the same length. And you just see ever so slightly a piece of the mouth, the lip there, maybe the bottom. So that is the head tilting away from us. And then coming out from under the jaw, we see the neck stretching. And the sternocleidomastoid muscle is coming up underneath that ear. You could see that muscle bulging as it is supporting the head, tilting away from us. And right here is that thyroid and gland muscle, cartilage. I'm going to move this jawline up just a little bit. And right here, there is another muscle I didn't mention to you. It is the levator muscle of the scapula on the other side. It's help supporting the neck and the rotation of the head. So that is levator muscle. And in the back here, this whole structure right there is our trapezius muscle. Right there. Trapezius. We have trapezius, levator muscle, and then the sternocleidomastoid muscle. All of this working together to support that head as it's tilting away from us. And of course, there's a cause and effect that happens as the head is tilting. Where the head meets the neck, you're going to get slight wrinkles because that side of the mass of the head is compressing together. Imagine two forms pressing together. So you'll get the two masses forming a wrinkle. And that's a good thing to always remember in your drawing, because the cause and effect, how the body moves and how the different parts affect other parts, is very important to give your drawing a realistic look. If you don't pay attention to that, sometimes your drawing will look a little on the flat side. So there we see a 3/4 angle with the head tilted away from us. And we can see all the muscle groups, the trapezius, levator muscle, and the sternocleidomastoid muscle, and then the thyroid and gland cartilage structure right here at the throat. Now, let's dive in and take a look at the structure of the female neck. We'll put a clean piece of paper over our male neck. And just know that it's going to be scaled down a little bit. We'll have a block. I will turn that into an oval. For the base of the woman's head. And her neck would be significantly more slender. So if I flip these two pages, you can kind of see a comparison to neck size and shoulder size. Remember when we did our diagram of the muscle structure, how the overall height was the difference between the overall height with the male skeleton and the musculature and the female was almost like a half head shorter. So here's our oval, here's our eye line. We'll start to construct where her eyes are. I'm going to put them slightly almond shape at a slant. And once again, we divide the lower half below the eye line into 3 sections, 3 equal sections. And the nose would be located right about there. Very lightly indicate a bridge. Above the eye line are the brows. Pupil. And then coming down from the iris on either side would be the rough corners of our mouth. And the lower lip would be just below that lower third line. Here's our rough mouth placement. The ears from the eye line down to the end of the nose. On either side. A slight brow line. And then the cranial mass. And I'm just going to kind of rough in a quick hairline there to remind us that we are drawing the female head. The chin, and then neck coming up just underneath. Now, we've got the basic structure, we've got the neck, we've got shoulders, we've got the deltoid. So once again, that first muscle group right here is the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Right there. Sternocleidomastoid muscles. I won't write the whole thing. Is quite a long, lengthy word description of that muscle. But those sternomuscles are helping support the head from the front, giving it great mobility. The thyroid and cartilage assortment here, the structure is not as prominent in the female neck. So we'll just leave that out. Right here, about right there, is the clavicle placement. So there's the female neck structure from the front. And once again, these sternocleidomastoid muscles give great mobility side to side, back and forward and backwards, and rotate. So it's got to have great support and great mobility to support the neck and make it able to move all the way around. Now, the back side, place a piece of paper on that. We've got our shoulder structure, medial line, neck placement. There's our oval for the head, eye line, ear placement. And that neck is going to be up right about there, right about in a line with the end of the ears. See the back side of the cranium. Right about there is where the neck will meet the back portion of the head. And we barely see a little bit of the jawline from the front. I'll just shade it in right there. The back side of the ears, where they attach to the sides of the head. Shoulders, deltoids, right about there would be the scapular. And then once again, coming up, we see the two large groupings on either side of the neck, which is the trapezius. They are radiating downwards. To support that neck and all of its mobility. So once again, combined with the trapezius muscles and then the sternocleidomastoid muscles in the front, we have a neck structure that can support it as it rotates, goes side to side or back and forth. And once again, if I were to draw the female neck, tilting over away from us, we do the oval shape. We'll do the jawline underneath. It's not as angular as the male. It's a little bit softer. There would be the back portion of the oval shape that makes up the skull. There's the medial line. There would be the placement, rough placement of the ear, forehead, brow. There's the eye line right there and the cheekbone. Coming from the bottom of the ear, we would have that jawline. And that sternocleidomastoid muscle right here. And the trapezius muscle coming up. And I think also there would be the levator muscle right there. The three muscle groupings that are helping support and give the neck its mobility. And once again, where the skin compresses, we have a little bit of a wrinkle to show the contact compression point right here. At that point where the head meets the neck, we can see some wrinkles. Right up front here, I'm going to soften that brow. We would see part of the nose underneath the nose and nostril, and then part of the lip. And that's the slightly underside angle. If the head were to tilt in that direction, we would see the underside of that head. So we've got all of our information about how to draw a realistic neck. That was a great lesson, and I hope you learned an awful lot about the muscles and the structure of the neck and how to draw them. Now, for your assignment, what I'd like you to do is sketch different positions of the male and female neck. Do both men and women. Maybe what you can do is you can sketch your own neck looking in the mirror, or you can sketch a friend or a family member and put them in different poses. The pose where they're leaning away from you and you have to draw the underside of the neck, or one where they're turned around, you're drawing the back side of the neck. Mix it up a little bit. Challenge yourself with these particular sketches, because it's very important that you always try to push yourself a little bit more each time you do a sketch. Maybe even time your sketches so that your first neck drawing will be 10 minutes and then the next one will be 5 minutes. So that's your assignment. I've been very excited to pass on all this information to you. It's been wonderful teaching you, and I hope to see you in our next lesson. Bye-bye.